Welcome back. Do you worry about your finances, bills, cost of living increases? If you said yes, you are among 4 out of 5 Canadians who do. A new survey from maritime-based Narrative Research shows just 1 in 5 Canadians are not losing sleep over money. Margaret Chapman of Narrative joins us to talk about these numbers. 4 to 5, that's troubling.
It's troubling not only because it's a large number, but also because it's been growing. So we've been tracking the same question over the last 3 years, and it's grown. The number of people who have financial concerns has been increasing over that period.
To be one of those 4 in 5, what gets you into that group? How many concerns about finances did you have to respond?
It's everything from saving for retirement to affording healthy food to housing costs, electricity costs, or saving for other kinds of necessities in your life.
Okay, let's break down the numbers a little bit. You mentioned you looked at several different areas. Electricity, cost of rent or housing, food prices. Is there one that really stands out?
So the biggest one is actually saving for retirement, and it's not surprising that when daily cost of living expenses are rising, people are sacrificing their savings. So that's been on the increase, and it's most prevalent among people who are in the Gen X, so closest to retirement but not yet retired. So those people are the most concerned about saving for retirement.
And how are their savings?
Well, probably diminishing given that they are unable to contribute to retirement savings and are spending more on things like healthy food. We also ask people if they've noticed prices changing at the grocery store on a number of key items. So daily staples like meat, fruit and vegetables, dairy, bread, and the vast majority of people see those prices going up.
Sure, we were just talking about it in a report last night, and everybody seems to be, trying to scale back where they can. There's a risk that comes with that, though.
Absolutely. So people at the grocery store are responding with different choices. They're looking for sale items and coupons. They're trying to scale back what they buy. They're sometimes looking for alternative, cheaper food that they can buy. So absolutely, people are having to kind of make difficult decisions.
When you look across the country, is there one region in particular that seems to be struggling the most?
It's really across the country. The only area that's a little less financially concerned is Quebec, but still it's 7 in 10 who are concerned about finances there. So really it's a cross-country problem.
Okay, so Atlantic Canadians certainly right in the mix.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you look at the breakdown, demographics, you mentioned Gen X and their inability to save. Was there any other numbers that stick out when it came to the age groups?
Yeah, the younger cohorts are more concerned about affording housing, and that's probably not a surprise to anyone, but it certainly bears out in the numbers that younger people are worried about paying rent. They're also, across the board, it's really prevalent to be concerned about buying food. So that's really the common denominator across all of the categories that we asked about.
How willing are respondents to talk about these things?
Oh, very. Yeah. People want to make sure that their voices are heard. So when we call or email people to ask them to take part, they want to be part of the conversation.
We've been hearing that inflation is softening. Today we heard from the Bank of Canada that rates will stay level, they're not going up anyway. There are some positives that we've seen of late in the economy. Of course, there's all the concern about tariffs and what that will do. But the responses aren't reflecting that.
I think it's because some of the daily costs and monthly costs that people are bearing, like the cost of housing, like the cost of food, they're not really starting to see any of those differences. So economically, we might be seeing some softening or some relief, but it's not translating yet into how people are feeling about their daily expenses.
Who's the 1 in 5 not worried about money? I'd like to meet that person.
They're more likely to be people who are retired. So maybe their housing costs are stable because they've paid off their house. They're maybe buying less food, or maybe those kinds of concerns aren't as prevalent. So it's really older people are less concerned about their finances.
So you conduct this on an annual basis. You're saying 3 years ago, would you have expected that these results would have been trending this way?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball,
Yeah, well, of course not, no.
but I think at the time we thought it was pretty bad when we first started asking in 2022, and we saw lots of inflationary pressures at the time. But I think as we saw inflation start to wane, we would have thought that maybe this would start to trend in the same direction as well. But as I say, I think it takes some time for the daily cost of living to be reflected in those more macroeconomic changes.
Okay, well, here's hoping that the 2026 numbers look a little better than what we've seen now when we talked about this with you next year.
Hopefully.
Margaret Chapman, thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. We will take a break. We will have more of your local news after this.